Will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. We're here for the regular council meeting of November 2nd. We are doing it all in person as council with some delegation today, but we are also online as well. So without further ado, we'll be voting by a show of hands today instead of online voting system as we were in the past. So again, we will start with item number 1, meeting called to order. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mamchuk, second by Councillor Clayton. Thank you. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Open the meeting at 9:04 a.m. Item 2, adoption of the agenda. Do I have a mover? Councillor Pelletier, second by Councillor Boulanger. Any questions, changes, edits to the agenda? Go as is, council. Not here. Not here. Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Item 3, adoption of the minutes. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mamchuk, second by Councillor Clayton.
Last regular meeting was held on October 20th, whereby we had 3 variations, 1 conditional use, 1 10-lot subdivision public hearing as a new road was being created within the subdivision. We also had a delegation and a road closing bylaw.
Thank you, council. Is there any questions or comments? Not here. No. Here, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? It's carried. Item 4, committee reports and minutes. Do I have a mover? Councillor Boulanger, second. Councillor Pelletier, thank you.
Basically, only Councillor Mamchuk provided a report on the SRRWD, the St. Rosa Watershed District. Other than that, no other reports were submitted.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council?
I have a question for Councillor Mamchuk. What are ALUS and GROW programs about?
That's alternate land use services. That means like any farmer or agriculture farmer, whether it's livestock or agriculture, if their land qualifies for a project, they get X number of dollars per acre if they qualify.
Oh, okay.
It's like for land erosion, soil erosion, buffers and everything else. And these people can back me up on that, right?
I will present you on that. Oh, excellent. Okay, great.
It's a very, very interesting project.
Awesome. And GROW is similar, or?
And that one's for growing opportunities for land services again. That's like for grasslands, etc.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Item 5.1, accounts paid to be approved. Do I have a mover? Councillor Pelletier, second by Councillor Mamchuk.
1 batch of accounts paid to be approved, batch number 15355 in the amount of $145,000. Basically, we've got 3 big bills in there. GFL for garbage and recycling pickup for the month of September, the municipal employees benefits, and receiver generals related to payroll. Any other items in there, please review the CFO summary batch that has been provided.
Thank you. I'll open up for discussion on council. Any comments or questions?
Not here.
Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. 5.2, accounts not paid to be approved. Do I have a mover? Councillor Boulanger, second by Councillor Clayton.
2 batches to be paid, batch 15384, which is basically a double payment for taxes that was done, so a refund will be sent out. I'll humor council a little bit more on this little story afterwards. And also on batch 15377, and total amount there is 406,673. In regards to the latter batch, we've got some meters, provincial assessment levy, some hydro seeding, crack sealing, culverts, and fencing done by Public Works. Again, please refer to the CFO summary provided in your package.
Thank you. Council, open up for any discussion. Anyone have anything to add?
I have some questions, and I apologize to you. It was a late night, though, reading. So, and if you don't have the answers, that's fine. They're just curious questions. So in that latter batch, page 2, Grants Point Park solar lighting, it said there's a charge there for solar lighting, and I'm just curious to see where those are. I haven't seen the solar lighting.
the sun, actually.
Okay, thank you.
They don't charge us for the sun. Okay, so basically this is a purchase from Public Works. So I will ask a question of Public Works as far as where they are in the
Okay.
project, but other than that, that was a $6,700
Mm-hmm.
touch, so.
Yeah, I was like, okay. And then on page 7, Grand Point Star Tree Topper. I understand that we're doing the trees this year for the Christmas lighting, so it's just, it's a
That is
pretty
the,
pricey tree topper.
They're very expensive, but they're also 6 to 7 feet tall.
Okay.
They're not small things. Yeah, and they're very hard to find.
How many did you,
Well,
is it just one?
we've got one for each town.
I see, okay,
Yeah.
and then it'll be permanent?
Per their, yeah, they're
Oh, perfect,
Yeah.
okay.
high-end stuff, so.
Page 15, babysitter course fees. Is that part of maybe Liam's programming or something? Maybe?
yeah, it's,
I didn't recognize the name and,
15,
Yeah, there was a babysitter course through Rashad Recreation.
okay, then that's what I figured, so
I don't know if it was an online workshop or not, so I can't remember. It might have been in person. I think it was in person.
yeah, the 10-8 tells me it's a recreation
Okay,
course, and I believe Deidre is a local volunteer fire department member as well, putting on the
okay,
course, so.
okay. And last question, page 22. It has the St. Adolphe LFRNN black chain link fence for 10K.
Okay, that's the chain link and black slatting fence that was done just by the apartments here in St. Adolphe. It's the lift station for St. Adolphe, that Mike did a contour fencing project for that to keep the
Perfect.
delinquents away, I guess.
Okay.
Delinquents.
It looks very nice if you haven't seen it yet.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
We also call it our internal dog park. No, it is not.
It's Mitch's break room.
Great, thank you, and I apologize for putting you on the spot, but that's all I
Good
have.
job.
Okay, that's everything?
Mhm.
Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. 5.2.1, council indemnities. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mamchuk, second. Councillor Pelletier.
Councilors, indemnity submitted for the month of October range from 18 hours to 21 hours, so very consistent between members, nothing else to report on the matter.
Thank you. Any discussion from council?
I have a question, has anybody, I'm trying to get a hold of the Howden Community Center group, and their sign has been gone dark,
Okay.
and Amber's having a hard time too, so,
What about the lady that counts the chickens on the roof there?
chickens. Stop with the chickens.
But, she might be the best one where you can.
Yeah, I've contacted that, I just wondered if you had heard or.
No, I haven't.
No, okay, I just thought, yeah,
It's all
that's
good.
all, thanks.
Anything else from anyone? Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? It's carried. 5.3, payroll to be approved. Do I have a mover? Councillor Clayton, second by Councillor Boulanger.
So this is in regards to staff payroll number 22, as well as the fire department quarterly payroll number 3 for the year. Basically, nothing to report at this time.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? No, seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. 5.4, 2020 general operating fund. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mamchuk, second. Councillor Pelletier.
As previously discussed with our CFO, this is basically the cash balance as of our 2020 operating. So it is a recommendation from our CFO to transfer these funds into the appropriate reserves as indicated in the resolution. And then some of those funds will be retransferred back for 2021. It's basically just a moving of money for temporary reasons.
Perfect. Any questions or comments from council?
Oh, good to see a surplus, not deficit.
True. Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. And we will go into our delegation, which does not require a mover, correct? So for Miss Jody Gertson from the St. Rosa Watershed District, take it away.
Okay, Jake, did you want to introduce us?
Yes, good.
With me is Jody Kurtz. She's the manager of St. Roseville Watershed. I'm Jake Keeper. I'm the chair of the watershed. I'm also the vice chair of Manitoba Watershed. Ron, of course, is on our board, and we appreciate his input. Other than that, we appreciate the support that we're getting from your municipality, and Jody.
Great. Thanks, Jake. Yeah, glad to be here. I just wanted to share a little bit about the project that we have on our website, that we have a nice track of it. So I'm going to pull that up right now. Okay. There we go. Perfect, so you can see it. So basically, if you come onto our website, if you want to know about projects, you ask about Alice and about Grow. So basically, srrwd.ca, and if you go under programs, you can see our titles: rain gardens, water retention, well sealing, livestock, field erosion control, and alternative land use services. And then you can click down and pick one. Those are all our projects. I'm going to pick the Jeremy Lucier Grass Waterway. It's a really great project that we just started this alternative land use services, and so it kind of shows you the characteristics, the benefits, and then the photo gallery of what the project is. So when you look at like a waterway that's coming through agricultural land, a lot of the time it picks up nutrients that are put in inputs and fertilizers that you put on the land. If you're cultivating that land, it's going to wash right into the waterway. It's going to like apply nutrient loading. So if we go in and grab the sides of that waterway and that whole waterway, you're going to reduce your nutrient loading because it's going to trap the nutrients. They're going to soak down rather than run off the landscape. So it's a big project, and it's funded by the GROW program in Manitoba. So that's a grant that we apply for every year, and we can apply for up to about $500,000 a year for that. So that's extra funding on top of what the municipalities and the province provides for us. And with this project, so because they're changing cultivated land into perennial cover, so they're not cultivating anymore, then we offer to put it under contract for 10 years, and essentially we're renting the land from the producer, so that for the next 10 years, we know that this is going to stay as an environmental project, and it's not going to be cultivated anymore. And we're not looking for the best land, we're looking for low-lying land, I guess traditional marginal land where the productivity isn't high, so that your input sometimes outweigh your benefits. So basically, we're saying, hey, maybe look at renting it to us for alternative land use, and we can put it into environmental projects. And then it has a little bit of a project overview, so it gives a background on why we decided to do the project, who was involved in the project, basically the intent of the landowner, and then a few projects in the gallery that kind of show. This was obviously taken in winter, but to kind of show the overview of the LiDAR, so you can kind of see the elevation change with the grade buffer, and then the final project of what it looks like. So you can see the water with the buffer on either side that's trapping those nutrients, and then the cultivated land that goes which is the normal practice farther out. So I think that's great, and there's also, we've got a map section if you want to look at our map, kind of like what's the district. So we've got different watershed sub-districts that talk about where we are here. So I'll pull up the map of Ron's sub-watershed. So he's the chair of the Turon Creek, and you can see it's got kind of this long, narrow strip of the Turon Creek, and then it really opens up and it captures a lot of the municipality of Rashad here on the east side of the Red River, basically. So some really great information, and then I'll also pull up Shane's sub-district here, and that's the lower Seine River, so that's the other one that you guys are fairly active in, all the way from St. Anne downstream to basically to the city of Winnipeg. So we cover large areas, and we try to target our programming into the areas that the locals have decided are in need of environmental programs and projects. Then I was going to pull up, let's see, I need to stop sharing. sharing, sorry, oh, there we go, okay, I'll stop sharing it. And then I will go back to,
While you bring that up, I'll just make a comment on, when we do these projects, we look at not only the benefit to the producer, but what is the benefit to the neighboring community? How will the water retention or water flowing through, how will that affect positively or negatively those downstream? And we're also looking at, obviously, the community as a whole, the RM, and then also the environment, what's the benefit to the environment? So we consider a lot of things before we just give the producer the money, say, here, go ahead, do your thing.
right, so I'm just trying to pull up my screen share. I think I just left the meeting. Oh.
That happens to the best of us.
Does it? Okay.
Okay, go ahead, bring it back up.
No, it still shows you.
Okay.
Is it? Okay.
I was just gonna say, one of the projects that we're doing now is a big one in, just south of Gardenton, right on the US border. That's 800 acres. And the way we measure our water is in acre feet. So we're, we can put a 2-foot berm around that 800 acres, we're looking at 1,600 acre feet of water. And the way you control it is by the size of the culverts you put in. So instead of that water running to Gardenton or to the Rat River or down in 24 hours or 48 hours, it may now take 5 or 6 days, which of course benefit. But then downstream, the water has already left and you're not playing. We did a large project, or 2 large projects in just east of Runcorn, on the highway to St. Pierre there, just south of the Joubert Creek. And the benefit to that is that it's limiting the water to St. Pierre now. So hopefully they won't flood.
Okay, I'm trying to see if I can get a video. There we go. Got it. Thank you. Just need to change to look over my shoulder, right? So this is the Ron Vermette Erosion Control Project. And it's basically just, it's in the RM of the Salisbury, but we want to do a lot of these in the RM of the Shot. So there's gullying that's happening. So you can see we're looking upstream towards a gully of all the water that's coming off of fields. And you can see that there's a lot of erosion, there's gullying, there's sediment that's being picked up, and it's just basically eroding the topsoil, and all of that soil is going to get dumped into municipal ditches. So to prevent that, we're putting a berm at the edge of the field, and that way we can slow that water flow, so we can slow down the velocity, so that upstream the water is going to have a slower time to release, and it's not going to come and take up all that sediment, and then we can go in and grass all the way upstream as well. So here we are, we're digging, basically digging out where the water, the outlet of the channel, and we're going to put that culvert that's sitting just to the left, my left over here, and we're going to place that in the bottom of this channel, and then rebuild that berm over top, back at field level, or just a little bit higher. So that's going to backflow onto the farmer's field, back up that channel. Yes, the farmer probably won't like it, so that's where we have those annual payments that come in, up to $100 an acre. So that's from our ALICE program through that growth funding pocket. And then the producer can maintain their waterway, and it'll be an easier time for them to cultivate their fields. They won't have to worry about losing a tire in a gully. And yeah, so we put some rock riprap down at the bottom, and basically erosion control fabric underneath it to help prevent any further erosion that comes in the municipality in the ditch there. So we did this with the RM of the Salisbury, so they signed off on our whole design that we had, and they were in support of the project. We paid for the project. It was about $2,400, so it was not a huge expense for us at all. And we're really hoping that it's going to save the municipality from cleaning out the ditch, and then also save those sediments so that they stay on farmland where you want them and not in the water where they're coming down from. So we're actually working with, Ryan, and he's been giving us a few sites, and we've got a few projects in mind where we'd like to build a couple of these to help with, the erosion coming off in the Turand and the Seine River watershed, so kind of the upper reaches of where we're shot is sitting, so the downstream end. And it kind of helps a little bit too, so you're storing water, so there's a little bit of water retention, but it's about maybe one or two acre feet of storage. So it's not, the idea isn't to store a whole bunch of water on farmland here. It's kind of, you just want to store a little bit of water to reduce that pressure and then to have a continuous outlet. So you still have drainage, but it's just not as impactful, or it's not eroding, and you're doing it in a sustainable manner. I think there's so here he's finishing off that berm and covering it, and that's that final shot. So you can see, that the way that it's shaped nicely, and it's got that culvert coming at the bottom. And then upstream, we shaped a little bit, but we left the rest of that ditch. That's going to get grassed in and nicely shaped by the local producer. So a lot of the producers have their own equipment, so they're able to themselves, they know where to place the soil. And we've got a boulder in the ditch there that we found that we will be moving. Safety hazard. We tried to place it so it breaks the flow of the water, but no, there's too much of a safety concern there. But anyway, so we think it looks great. These are projects that we just started doing in the last year. And we've targeted the downstream end of the watershed because right where you guys are, there's not too much we can do for water storage, but we can do some erosion control projects like this to help lessen that impact that we have. Very cool.
How was the producer's take on this?
Yeah, he came to us. We did a few other Alice projects with him, and he said, well, I have this water. He didn't want the gullying because he can lose tractor tires, and basically it's a liability to him. So we came and said, okay, well, we can back flood this, and the area that was in the creek that wasn't really producing much anyways. So when we said, well, we'll pay you $100 an acre for that, he basically did the math and was like, yeah, it's worth my time, because now he'll have to go around the waterway. We can't cultivate right through it, but it was worth it to him to change his management practice. So there is the producer does have to be on board, but hopefully they'll find it worth their while. And it's not for everyone, we understand that, but for those that
do you go around looking for projects, or do people come to you? What you're gonna
Yeah, good question.
Sorry, Curtis.
Yeah, exactly, Ron. Both, we manage the whole southeastern Manitoba, so it's really hard for us. We only have 4 staff on the ground, so to try to find every single project site is really challenging. We do have LiDAR and ortho photos, so we go through those a lot. And then we kind of approach our local council representative, like if we see a project in the Armor Shot, we're like, oh, we'll come to Ron or we'll come to Shane and say, hey, do you know who this landowner is? So it's always about trying to approach the landowner if we can make a connection. Any way that we can help. Sometimes the public works knows locations, sometimes they know people. It's really a lot of word of mouth. It's a lot of, we don't really go door to door, but it's trying to get that message out that this is what we have to offer, and is there anyone that wants to work with us? So, okay, yeah.
And the GROW program, is that sort of a matching grant, or is it 100% funded by the watershed district?
It's a matching grant, so the province has put $300 million into trust, and every year that interest comes out for watershed district programming. So we apply for the grant a year ahead of time, and then I have to match it at 2 to 1. So whatever dollar they give me, I have to use 2 of our own to match that with. And then, so the provincial grant is $378,000 that we get from the province, and that is because the municipalities put in anywhere between $600,000 and $22,000 per municipality. So I can combine that, use that as matching funds, and then apply for about $250,000 up to $500,000 for the GROW program.
Okay. And then for the producers, there's basically no cost except their land uses changed a little bit, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. So they have to sign a contract saying that they won't cultivate the land, and if they breach the contract and cultivate the land, then we quit the payment. So, and if there was a seeding cost, they would have to pay, we'd amortize that. So if they breach the contract in year 5, they'd pay back 50% of the initial setup cost. So in that case, but for the most part, and that's for the alternative land use service. For other projects, if there's no annual contract involved, then we would take on basically 100% of that as a water retention project. But if it's a livestock production or a drought protection project, those we cover 50% of the cost. So the cost sharing does vary depending on the environmental benefits of the project and the benefits to the producer. So if we're ensuring a water supply, obviously that's a benefit to the producer and their cows are healthier. So then we're paying 50% of that cost.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah. Got another question about, you say it traps the nutrients. I'm assuming it also traps the chemicals?
Yeah, so when I say nutrients, they find nutrients, they can be synthetic or they can be natural. So, manure or applied fertilizer. So, applied manure is under a very regulated regimen. So every producer that applies manure has a manure management plan. But as you know, when it rains, any fertilizer that you apply is going to be washed away if it rains the next day. And so any of the buffer strips will help that, definitely. It's not 100%, it's not like a brick wall, obviously it's a natural system, but slowing that flow gives time for the water and the nutrients to settle out and settle into the ground, rather than carrying them as a dissolve downstream all the way to our unfortunate Lake Winnipeg.
Yeah. And the buffer zone, then, if it's all grass, nobody maintains that. I'm assuming it's just wild growth and.
It's wild growth and it's seeded, but the producers, under the contract, the producer does have to hay it and bale it. So they have to remove it. Or if they have cattle, they're allowed to go in and we call it flash grazing. So just go in for a very short period of time, graze it down, and then get the cattle back out. And we do that removal because if the grasses die, they'll actually contribute phosphorus back into the water system as they're decomposing.
Okay. Interesting.
Very cool. And I do have one, I sent over okay, can I reshare it? Or stop sharing? Okay, so then I sent over the map of the project that we have for our project inventory. I see it.
I can just jump in here a little bit. Jody was mentioning the livestock projects we're doing. Like we did a couple of big ones for Highlight, where we put up solar pumps and stuff. And we paid for fencing all the dugouts, fencing waterways, so the cattle don't go and drink dirty water, that kind of stuff. And the benefit to the environment obviously is great, but also the benefit to Highlight. Highlight claims that their calves at the end of the year are 150 to 200 pounds heavier. So if you figure that at $2.50 a pound at whatever, 500 calves, you're looking at huge dollars. So when people say, well, it's silly to fence a dugout, silly to fence the little creek up, no, there's a lot of benefits. Not only to the producer, but like I said, to the community downstream, and also to, obviously, the big one, to the environment. And to your point there, where the nutrients don't run downstream and are caught. You know, we even look at bull rushes when you guys are harvesting the ditches and stuff. You know, one of the things that doesn't make us happy is when you cut the bull rushes, chop them up, and leave it there, and it runs down, it plugs your culverts. It also runs downstream and ends up in Nestle Marsh and Lake Winnipeg and stuff. And that's all where all your nutrients are. They're in that product. So, sorry, Julie.
Perfect. No, and the project, if you can see on the map, these are the projects that we did last year. And I have handouts and stuff easier if you want.
You just
take one shot now. Okay. And then, so you can the map gives you a bit of detail of all the projects that we did last year, and a little legend of where we did the livestock, water retention, alternative land use services, well head remediation and well sealing. And then behind that is our financial report for the year, and then our budget for the coming year.
Well, we have them online too.
You have them online, okay, great. So I was gonna highlight that we spent $666,929 on projects last year. And, we're looking at basically spending, $838 for this year that we're looking to spend on projects. And, the beauty about the Grow Trust is that if we don't spend all our money from the Grow Trust, we can actually carry it forward, which is unusual for us, because normally as a provincial entity or a provincially governed entity, we have to have that annual money spent at the end of the fiscal year, which is March 31st for us. Yeah, so that's my report. Is there any questions?
Yeah, Council, do you have any final questions, comments?
No, that's great.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. It's interesting. I find that kind of stuff interesting because I don't know much about it, so it's neat to learn. So thank you very much, and I'm sure Councillor Mamchuk will continue to keep up the good work being on your board. If he's ever a problem, you let me know.
Yeah, and Shane also sits on our.
Well, Shane's never a problem. Ron and I work well.
Yeah, so we're looking, and we're really looking forward to partnering with Rashad, moving forward and seeing what we can do together. And I know you guys are at the downstream of the, kind of like the butt end of the watershed here, so you get all the runoff. So if we can do something here, I think it's really great. It's great for us, and it's great for the watershed.
Yeah, I think Councillor Pelletier has been in touch with you with maybe an opportunity once or twice before, so.
Yeah, and Ron, and basically Shane and with Ryan too, we've got a couple sites, closer to the Citadel Cooley that we're looking at, that we've got a landowner involved with.
Excellent.
Oh, is that my buddy?
Who's that?
That old guy, what's his name? Anyway, he's got drainage problems, so he's been trying to get that fixed. 200? I'll have to talk to you after.
210.
Yeah, but anyway, no, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Jody could stop sharing her. Oh, perfect.
Okay, so then that brings us to adjournment, item number 10. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mamchuk, second. Councillor Pelletier, any final comments? No? Okay, I will call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. I'll close the meeting at 9:36 a.m. Thank you very much, and good day, everyone. Please stop recording.